Hello Hasbro fans, this is Up for This Destroyers back again with yet another Star Wars action figure review, and this time taking a look at previously released the Vintage Collection figure. It is Wedge Antilles from Vintage Collection 20. I believe this figure was released back in 2010, but it's been really hard to come by for people in the US, certainly, that's what I've heard. But to me it's been kinda easy. I mean, I could go into every Smith store, local Smith store around, and they probably have one Wedge Antilles figure, no more than one for certain. Probably the only one around Ireland here that, or the UK, that doesn't is the one Smith store I bought a Wedge from, so yeah. Well, it's not an exciting figure by means. I didn't buy it this figure because I totally wanted it. I bought it because of the lack of new products on the shelf. I mean, nothing except the Phantom Menace wave of any of the January 2012 figures, so it was a figure bought purely for the reason I wanted it, if you're thinking that, because it wasn't. I'll just go into the packaging first and move the figure and accessories out of the way. So here is the packaging. There is, of course, artwork of Wedge Antilles, the Kenner logo, and Return of the Jedi. And that babe does it. It's a pretty nice artwork, I guess. And another of the same image on that side. Wedge Antilles, Return of the Jedi, 1983. In 1983, I believe, is referencing when the first ever Wedge figure was released, I guess. Other figures in the wave include Wicket, Yoda, Luke Skywalker, R2-D2, and Admiral Akbar. Just tilt the camera a bit, yeah. Only figure that even interests me in the slightest is the Akbar, otherwise nothing really excites me from there. So here is the figure, and going to the accessories first. It does come with a pretty interesting blaster pistol, which is quite an interesting design and tip on it, but nothing really too special. The second accessory is a helmet, which I'll get more into later. For now, just a look at the details on it. It is pretty nicely detailed, I will admit, but there is a major flaw with it that I will get onto later in the review. But overall, nice design. Orange in the inside, I think. Yeah, orange. But overall, pretty nice. The figure itself is pretty bland for the most part, to be honest. It's just your basic Rebel pilot with one difference, and that is the amazing face sculpt, which I will zoom in on. I mean, this face sculpt is just brilliant. I mean, to me it definitely resembles Wedge Antilles, but even if it doesn't exactly resemble him to some fans, I just think it's a brilliant face sculpt in general, with lots of great details, and really cool figure. Very nicely detailed on the face sculpt. Overall though, figure's a bit bland otherwise. I mean, the whole body is just your basic Rebel pilot, really. But the control panel here is quite nice, I guess. Pretty cool here. That control panel. The articulation, ball jointed head, ball hinged shoulders and elbows, swivel forearms. Ball jointed waist, not hinged, and the ball joint kind of destroys the waist in my opinion, because it's quite loose, to be honest. Very loose waist, swivel hips as well, ball hinged knees and ball hinged ankles, so almost perfectly articulated. I mean, forearms instead of wrists doesn't really bother me, but that loose waist kind of irks me a bit. At times it kind of makes it look like he's bending down one way when he should be like positioned straight. But other than that, not really any problems with the actual figure. It's just not really exciting. Again, this is coming from someone who laps up the clone repaint, so I can't really talk, but I guess it's just that I really like clones, rebel pilots, and really my cup of tea, to be honest, as us British would say. But now on to the reason, what the main problem that I have with this figure, and that is the helmet. I mean, like I said, nicely detailed and all, but once you put it on the figure, I'm not sure if this is a problem just with my Wedge, but once you get the helmet onto the figure, it looks completely stupid, for one, and then it's a pain in the ass to take off. There's no other way to describe it, really. It just is really frustrating. I mean, I try and take the helmet off. Instead, I just take the helmet with the head inside off. Really annoys me like that. And you know, this is the last time I'm actually, because I've already had to take it off twice already. And this is the last time. Like, from now on, I'm just gonna put them on the display, leave them like that. Don't care if it looks stupid. It just takes a lot of time. Like around 15 minutes plus to take off the helmet, which is really poor. I mean, terrible job by Hasbro. Sure, they've detailed the helmet nicely, which I'll zoom in on. Sure, they've detailed it really nicely. I really like the details on it, but the simple fact is, I mean, it's just so hard to take off, and I mean, it's just really frustrating trying to do that. So really, the figure now, just going on the display like it is now and staying there. Probably won't even look at this figure again, not deliberately anyway. But overall, bland. But the face sculpt is really nice. But because of the absolutely torrid job done on trying to make the helmet removable from the figure, it kind of destroys the point of the amazing face sculpt. So personally, if you were gonna buy it as an OT collector's sign, I'd just keep it carded because it looks really good in the package. But the helmet, if you put the helmet on the figure after you take it out, it just looks really silly and won't come off pretty much. You know, I'm not even too sure if that's just a flaw with my figure, but definitely really irritates me in any case. And it kind of forces me to give the figure a rating of only around 7 out of 10. I mean, the face sculpt is by far the best part of the figure, hands down, and the helmet just really irritates me, to be honest, beyond belief. But it is fairly decent, not a bad figure. One of the worst I own in the vintage collection, but the vintage collection is just so full of great figures that it's hard to find terrible ones. For the most part, I mean, the only ones I really hate are like Rats Tyrell. I mean, that figure wasn't that great. But yeah, not really too happy about this. But final look at the figure and the packaging. So yeah, not too bad. But Hasbro, some very silly flaws ruined this figure. One last look. So anyway, may the force be with you and happy hunting.